I'm Billy. Standing in front of the mirror on my wedding day, I stared at my reflection, a veil in my trembling hands. Just moments ago, my sister, Lily, placed both hands on the 8-month belly I'd paid her $98,000 to carry for me, smirked into the mirror, and said, "Lucas has been coming to my house for a whole year, Billy. You're marrying my leftovers. This baby now belongs to me." My mother, a cold and unfeeling woman named Edith, stood silently behind her, with a look of feigned concern on her face. My father, a timid man named Ronald, stared at the carpet, unable to meet my eyes. It was then that I realized the lengths they were willing to go to betray me. But I wasn't going to let them win so easily. Adjusting my veil, I met my sister's eyes in the reflection and replied calmly, "Amy is waiting outside. Do you want her to speak before the vows?" Neither my sister nor my mother knew who Amy was, but I knew she held the key to exposing the truth. Let me take you back to the beginning. I'm a physical therapist, running a small practice in a quaint town called Pinewood. I've always been fascinated by the human body, and my practice is a place where I help people recover from injuries and regain their strength. My life took a turn when I was 26. I was diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, during my first year of running the practice. The doctor told me that it would be extremely difficult for me to conceive naturally. I was devastated, but I refused to give up hope. I spent countless hours researching treatments, trying every possible solution. When I met Lucas, I thought my prayers had been answered. He was kind, understanding, and we fell deeply in love. We decided to try in vitro fertilization, IVF. The first attempt failed, and so did the second and the third. Each failure was like a stab in the heart, leaving me broken and defeated. After the third failure, I was in a dark place. I couldn't face my mother, who had always been critical of me, or my sister, Lily, who seemed to thrive in my mother's shadow. My mother, a nurse by profession, had always measured my worth by my ability to have children. She would often make snide remarks about my broken body at family gatherings. Lily, on the other hand, was always the perfect daughter in my mother's eyes. She got married young, had 2 beautiful children, and lived a picture-perfect life. But one Sunday, during a family dinner, everything changed. My mother prepared a special meal, and Lucas was sipping on his wine. Lily set down her fork and said, "You've given me so much support in my life, Billy. Let me give this to you. I'll be your surrogate." At that moment, my mother burst into tears, and my father took out his phone, as if he knew this moment was important. I was overwhelmed with gratitude. I thought my family had finally come through for me. Over the next few weeks, Lucas and I did our due diligence. We consulted lawyers, doctors, and surrogacy agencies. We were told that using a family surrogate could be complicated, but we trusted Lily. We signed the surrogacy agreement in stages. The total cost of the surrogacy was $98,000, with $62,000 going to the agency and legal fees, and $38,000 as compensation for Lily. The embryo transfer took place at the local fertility clinic. Amy, a nurse at the clinic, was with me that day. She squeezed my hand and gave us the standard post-transfer instructions. Lucas started painting the nursery a soft blue, and he worked on it every weekend. My mother sent us baby blankets and a teddy bear. Lily posted a positive test result on our family chat, and it seemed like our dream was finally coming true. But as the months passed, I started noticing some strange things. I was never allowed to go to any of the ultrasounds. Lily would show us blurry pictures on her phone, saying that the baby didn't like too many hands around. Once, when I placed my hand on her belly, it felt strange, almost too smooth, but I pushed those thoughts away. I didn't want to doubt my sister. Then, in December, Lily posted what she called her 16-week ultrasound on Instagram. I studied the image like I would study a patient's chart. Something didn't seem right. The resolution was too high, and the gestational sac was at an odd angle. I saved the image, not knowing why, but a small voice in my head was telling me to be vigilant. Around the same time, Lily went on a trip to Miami. She said her doctor had cleared her to fly, but I couldn't help but feel suspicious. She came back with a tan and stories about how the baby loved the beach. In January, Lucas asked if we could go to the anatomy scan with her. She said the clinic had moved to another town and only her partner could go. She rescheduled the scan 3 times, and when she finally said she went, she sent Lucas the same ultrasound image she'd posted on Instagram. Lucas started to investigate on his own. He called the clinic, but they wouldn't give him any information. He kept all his findings in a folder on his computer, a collection of phone logs, text messages, and audio recordings. He didn't tell me at first because he didn't want to hurt me without proof. In April, I decided to go to the fertility clinic alone. I told Lucas I had a meeting. When I asked for Amy, she led me to a consultation room. She pulled up my file on the screen and told me the truth. According to the medical records, there was no confirmation of pregnancy after the first week. There were number 6-week ultrasounds, no prenatal visits, and the beta HCG follow-up had been missed. The clinic had tried to call Lily 3 times, but she'd never returned their calls. I was in shock, but I didn't cry. I asked Amy if she would come to my wedding. She knew what was going on and said she had seen this pattern before. She gave me her personal number and said she would be there. When I got home, Lucas showed me his folder. There were screenshots of Lily's Instagram posts, traced to stock photography websites. There were text messages where she had tested Lucas, and audio recordings of their conversations. One recording was from March 5th, where Lily said, "You can stop pretending, Lucas. It's just us." Lucas replied firmly, "I'm here because of the baby, not you. Please don't do that again." I was angry, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. I wasn't going crazy. I was right to trust my instincts. A few days later, I went to Lily's townhouse to help her sort baby clothes. While she was out, I opened the guest closet. Inside were several silicone bellies, purchased weeks before the embryo transfer. There were also bottles of unopened prenatal vitamins, and a prescription bottle with a suspicious label. I took pictures of everything. My neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, an 80-year-old retired schoolteacher, gave me an envelope. Inside were pictures of Lily removing a silicone belly in her bathroom. She'd been watching and documenting everything, and she knew that something was off. I confronted my mother. I sat at the kitchen table where she'd made so many hurtful comments over the years and asked her, "Mom, when did you know Lily wasn't pregnant?" She took a long time to answer, and finally said, "September." She told me she'd found a non-reactive beta HCG test result on Lily's kitchen counter. She said she'd been trying to protect both of us, but I knew she was just trying to protect Lily. On the day of the rehearsal dinner, Lily wore a flowing dress over her fake belly and made a speech about sisterly love. I sat there, listening, knowing that everything she said was a lie. Amy was there, sitting at a table in the corner, giving me a reassuring nod. The day of the wedding arrived. As I stood in the bridal suite, facing Lily and my mother, I knew it was time to expose the truth. When I mentioned Amy, Lily laughed it off, but I could see the fear in her eyes. As I walked down the aisle on Lucas's arm, I saw Amy standing at the front. Reverend Austin, our officiant, announced that a guest had something to say. Amy stepped forward and, in a calm and professional voice, read the medical records aloud. There is no beta HCG confirmation on file following the transfer. There is number 6-week ultrasound. There are no prenatal visits. Lily tried to dismiss it as a mistake, but it was too late. Lucas walked up to her and placed the silicone belly at her feet. Everyone in the church was shocked into silence. My mother tried to make excuses for Lily, but my father finally spoke up. He said, "There was no baby, Lily. You've made your mother lie, and you've betrayed Billy." Lily looked around, realizing that all her lies had caught up with her. Then she ran out of the church, disappearing into the afternoon. After the initial shock wore off, I turned to Reverend Austin and said, I still want to proceed. Lucas and I exchanged our vows. I promised to build our family with him, no matter what. I promised to keep fighting for what I believed in. At the reception, most of the guests who had sided with Lily left. But 63 of our true friends and family stayed. They celebrated with us, and it was a beautiful, intimate gathering. In the following months, things started to fall into place. A group of donors, who had contributed to what they thought was Lily's baby fund, filed a small claims action and won back their money. Lily's social media accounts were suspended for fraudulent behavior. She moved out of her townhouse and took a job at a local store. Her ex-husband got full custody of their children, and I started to receive messages from them, asking to spend time with me. My mother sent me 3 letters, but I didn't open them. I needed time to heal. My father called me every week, and eventually, I started answering his calls. He said he was sorry, and he just wanted to be a part of my life. Lucas and I have started a new surrogacy process with a professional agency. We're cautious, but we're also hopeful. We've learned that family isn't always blood, and that love and trust are the most important things in a relationship. I run a newsletter now, sharing my story with other women who have faced similar struggles. I write, to the sisters who cannot become mothers the traditional way, your grief is not a debt you owe anyone. And the response has been overwhelming. People have written to me, saying believed, and I know that I'm not alone in this fight. I may not know if I'll ever hold my own child in my arms, but I know that I have Lucas, and our friends and family who support us. My body may have failed me, but I've learned to trust in the strength of the human spirit. And that's a vow I'll keep for the rest of my life.